Welcome back to the Carol Suki podcast. I am here with Sarah Martin of Guided Interiors. My goodness, it's a Monday. So, Sarah, you and I know each other for years. And before you did Guided Interiors, which still does sound like interior decorating, you were an interior decorator and then you kind of found a niche. So, introduce yourself, Sarah, and tell us a bit about all of that.
Yes, hi. Thank you. I do have an interior design decorating background, and I've done that for many years. So it's kind of my specialty per se. So
Mhm.
I started actually back in the day. So I worked at Benjamin Moore. I was color consultant. I did interior decorating then, and then I was working with a boutique design firm in Mississauga for almost 10 years. And then I was working with a home construction builder for a couple years as well. So I've been in the industry for a while, a good chunk of time, and
Mhm.
I've always been a little bit more holistic, a little bit of a hippie on the inside. I really love nature. I try really hard to be like eco-friendly. I do weird things. I love essential oils. And then I was like, this is part of who I am. And I was like, how can I be this while still doing interior decorating because I really love being creative. I really love working with people and in their homes. It's fun and it's hard, but it's special. How can I continue to do that while still incorporating this like more holistic side? So I actually was doing a little research, being like, what else can I add? There's got to be something else that I could do. And then I came along Feng Shui and I was reading about it. And I was like, this is actually kind of cool. And it kind of pairs really well with interior decorating because, as most people know, feng shui, the basics is that you can move furniture around, you can add certain colors to kind of help the energy in the space. So I was like, okay, I can do that. So I started looking into courses and I found that it's actually a lot more vast than I had anticipated. And there's different types of schools of feng shui, and there's Western, there's traditional, and there's different parts of it, which I didn't know getting into. Anyways, I did a course and I did traditional compass feng shui.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit more in depth than the Western of just moving things to a certain direction or adding certain colors. So I was really grateful that I found and fell into that school of feng shui because I think what I've learned is very important. There's many different layers of feng shui, which can get a little bit overwhelming, to be honest. So we start very basic and simple, and then we can layer on as we get familiar with feng shui and go from there.
Mhm.
So that's how I got into
Awesome.
it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so, we intended to have this podcast interview in the month of Chinese New Year. that was the goal. But, mom got in the way and so did business, which is a good thing. And so, can you tell us a little bit about how Chinese New Year and Feng Shui and this year of the fire horse kind of could help someone's life knowing about it?
Mhm. We actually talked about doing this podcast like a year ago. And then
Yeah,
yeah. So it's been a year in the making, so here we are.
very true.
So I think I should maybe do a little cap of what feng shui is. So at its core, feng shui is really about just how energy, which we also call qi, moves through your environment. And your home is constantly influencing how you feel, your mood, your clarity, even your opportunities that you see around you on every day. So when we arrange our spaces with intention, which is really big in feng shui, is setting intention, we can create better flow, reduce stress, and then invite more supportive energy into our lives. And then it's kind of like tuning an instrument so it kind of works better for you, basically. So we're working with what we have and we can add things on to improve what's going on. So you mentioned the
Beautiful.
fire horse.
It's that year. It's 2026. I
Yeah,
don't know when people are
2026
tuning
is
in,
the
but it's
year of the
2026.
fire horse. So,
Mhm.
in Chinese astrology, this represents movement, independence, freedom. And when you add fire to that, it amplifies everything. Obviously, fire is hot and it burns. So, this year it carries a very dynamic, fast moving energy. It encourages bold action, big moves, sometimes major life shifts. You might notice people feeling restless, like they want to change something or they want to start something new or move forward in a big way. But here's the interesting part is that when energy wants to move and we're holding on to old patterns or stagnant spaces, then it can feel heavy, which is something we kind of talked about a couple weeks. We were both feeling a little bit heavy.
Yeah, you know what? Hang on, Sarah. Let's kind of dig a little bit because, too, I think there's a little bit of added, I don't know what the word is. So, a little bit of added heaviness, extra heaviness, because last year was the year of the snake. 2025 was the year of the snake, and this is the year of the fire horse. And I feel like those are two, correct me if I'm wrong, two like opposite types of energy. Yeah.
Hmm. For sure. Which I think that, but we sometimes need to shed, be able to grow, right? So a
Yes.
lot of us were not having great years last year. A lot of people
Yeah.
were not seeing a lot of income. There was a lot of loss of jobs. There was a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things going on in the world. So I
Hmm.
think a lot we were feeling that. And then the time of the snake, we were kind of shedding, we were holding back. We can still be learning, but now the time is like to pounce, to move forward, to like have that energy to proceed with the things, new directions, new learning things, new work things. Like it's time to take a leap into things to see some movement.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
the heaviness can also be just like energy that was waiting to move. So how can we support that energy when it's holding us back? And we can maybe help that by making sure our spaces are decluttered, that there's no stagnant energy, making sure we're in light, airy environments, bringing in fresh air. And then it's pretty amazing how much better you feel when you start getting some movement into your lives. And that's like through exercise as well, right? Like going for walks, being able
Yeah.
to move your body, because the more we are still, the more our body stiffens and then we don't feel good. So movement is always good. And
Yeah.
I should listen to my preaching because I should also start moving my body more than I do. But here we are.
There might be a special reason why you might feel that way, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Somebody you might know really well might be into a lot of movement and
Yeah.
exercise.
So my husband
Sarah, tell
does
us just quickly.
personal training.
Yeah.
And so he's very much into exercise and movement. And then I've been like the opposite lately. So, anyways, it's an
Do you
era.
think you're like kind of resisting because it's like, well, my husband does all of that. I don't
Yeah,
need to.
exactly. That's partially true.
And more on like that heaviness that people are feeling.
Hmm.
As you know, travel alchemist and, someone who's kind of in tune, and I'm like that hippie weird chick too. Do you think that we, as that kind of collective of people, because a lot of my listeners are those people. They are my people. Do you feeling do you think we're feeling a little bit of that extra heaviness, and what do we do with it?
Your people, why are we feeling extra heaviness?
Yeah, I mean, like empaths, people who are in tune with energy, people who, want good in this world. Why are we feeling heavy?
I
What
know.
do you intuitively think is the
I think
reason?
the year wants movement, but we're still carrying some of the past stuff from last year and the
Mm,
heaviness of what's going on. I think
yeah.
creating new routines and removing some emotional weight would help our heaviness that we're feeling right now.
Mhm.
We're also still early in the year. So, I mean, things take time to like transition. So, you're probably feeling that too, because it's not like we wake up, we're like, okay, new year, we're ready to go. Like, there's a transition
Right.
and we're all in different parts of our life. So, we're going to feel things differently. I'm not, as
Yeah.
much as I love hippiness and meditation and cleansing my space, I don't feel things as much as a lot of empaths do.
Hmm.
I have been feeling some weight, but I'm sure other people are feeling a lot more that are more in tune and feeling the heaviness of the world right now. You probably
Right.
hear a lot about more of what's going on in the world in the travel industry. So I'm sure that affects you a lot
Hmm.
more than it would me, as I'm not as connected.
Right. Yeah. And it kind of have to be. I like to like I don't watch the news and stuff. I like my little small happy bubble, but at the same time, I need to know what's going on in the world a little bit anyways. And yeah, unfortunately I do. But you did mention travel
Yes.
and fast forward moving and things like that. How do you think traveling help with like energy shifts?
I think it could be pretty powerful in an energy shift, because when you leave your usual environment, you're stepping out of your routines, your patterns,
Mm,
the expectations of your everyday world. And energetically, that's creating movement within itself, right? Just like rearranging furniture can change the energy in your home, stepping into a completely new landscape can shift something internally too. And that's why transformational travel retreats and
Mhm.
spiritual journeys, which you're really good at, cultivating experiences can be so powerful because you're also learning and you're moving and you're feeling good when it's good to feel good, right? It's a good thing.
Absolutely.
It makes your energy better. When your energy is good, then you're gonna manifest better energy too. So I think that why it aligns beautifully with the Fire Horse year, because this is all about movement and courage and expansion. So I think they pair
Mhm.
really well because if you're making big, bold moves, but also like taking the time to like really take time for yourself and just to
Yes.
set aside from your everyday normal and just, take that time to real is really good for
Yeah.
your mental and your body, everything to kind of
Yeah.
move together.
Absolutely. And that, whoever you're traveling with, you get to have that special time with them and just immerse yourself in each other's, you know, happiness, right? Like you don't have all the things to do, all the places that you have to go and not by choice, right? I mean, there's excursions and things like that, but like you don't have that busyness of, making life work. You're there to like kind of turn everything off.
Hmm.
I do find, especially when you do go to places that it's not just about entertainment, booze, and things like that. A lot of times, I'm pretty sure, and I've never really done deep research on this, but I'm pretty sure they use Feng Shui type of elements to kind of give people that extra relaxing, type of environment. Like they probably do consider placement of certain furnitures and a certain, statue upon welcoming, things like that, right?
I'm sure. And especially with all these places too, you're typically around water. You usually have a
Mhm.
lot of like beautiful shrubbery and gardens and trees. And
Sure,
there's
yes.
usually like rocks and roads. So you're getting kind of all the elements, right? And then typically fire would be light. So like at nighttime, they're usually lit up pretty good. So overall, I think there's a really good energy in a lot of resorts because they have all the elements covered, which are water, fire, metal,
Exactly.
earth, and wood.
Yeah, so you can say that, like, travel and feng shui are kinda like cousins in the energy world?
Yeah, I think so. Just because it moves your energy into the world, right? So your home sets your energetic baseline and travel kind of supercharges it, just like the hitting a refresh button on your life. So then you feel good and then you're going to bring that forward.
Yeah, I love that, Sarah. Okay, so what can listeners do to kind of work with this year's Fire Horse energy, whether it's at home or while traveling? Like, how can they kind of take the fact that it's a Fire Horse year and kind of catapult their life forward in a sense?
Yeah. So there's usually, like I said, feng shui is really layered. So we're going to obviously just start really simple. So there's a few things that you could do to make a difference in your home. And you'd want to start with
Mhm.
movement, which we already talked about. You want to declutter because clutter is literally stagnant energy. When you open
Mhm.
windows, whenever you can, add fresh air. I think a lot of countries call this house burping when you open
Oh,
your
wow,
doors and you're
I've
letting
never heard that.
yeah, so they say even 5 minutes makes a really big difference, just like opening your windows and doors, even in winter, because you wanna get that airflow, you wanna get some new fresh air in because that helps with the energy. It also helps with, like, us, like, physically, right? Like, the more stagnant energy we are breathing in, we're gonna get colds, and we need that fresh air to kind of make us new again, right? Clean out our
For
system.
sure.
So
Yes.
we want to bring that into our space. We can also bring in plants. They're really wonderful because they add oxygen and vitality. They're a living organism with energy, so that brings good energy within your space. And if they're thriving, then that's also a good sign that you have good energy in the room or the space. Light air movement help flow as well. So like if you really need to add fans, then that helps to kind of circulate the air, but the biggest thing would be to really just open up your doors and windows to get that fresh air in.
Beautiful.
And then stagnant energy is probably the biggest one. So I always tell people if you need to start somewhere, you really have to start with decluttering. So the more stuff and the more mess you have, that's going to just cause the negative energy to kind of sit.
Mhm.
And I know people with young kids always stress. I do myself with my young kids because it's not everyday mess that I'm talking about. So It's the things that the piles that sit everywhere. So if you have an area in your
Mm.
home that you have a pile of stuff that always collects, that's where you need to concentrate. And this is another layer, and we're not going to get too deep because there's too much and we can go on for enough. But we also in Feng Shui, we look at the Bagua Map, and there's 9 sectors, and each sector has a life area which is connected to like health, family and relationships, creativity, children. So all these things. So if you have the stagnant energy sitting in any of those areas, then that is going to affect that life area. So that's another thing we look at feng shui. So we really need to make sure that that sort of thing is not happening, but everyday mess is okay.
Okay. And I just want to jump in and remind listeners, like, stay tuned to the end because Sarah's going to talk about a special offer that she has just for you listeners. So, mentioning that Bagua map and stuff. So, we're going to get back to that. So, continue, Sarah. Sorry to
Okay,
cut you off. I just want to make sure they
that's
know what's
okay.
coming.
And setting intentions is really important too. So we kind of mentioned that feng shui is really big into movement and intentions, and you just want to set an intention to like ask for clarity, releasing anything that's old and not serving you, and then just encouraging growth and good health, and that will help support your environment.
Yes. And so, like, I think that that's a good thing with travel, even when people are choosing to travel. It's not like, hey, where do I want to go? I want them to think about, why do you want to go there? What country, what environment is calling you? Is it the mountains? Is it the water? Right?
That is so good because a lot of people are going to be called to different things too. Like a lot of people love the ocean. I personally, I
Yeah.
don't want the ocean. Don't want it. I
Yeah.
don't want to
Oh,
be in
really?
it. I'd rather take a forest any day. If there's like a
And
pool,
you'd rather look at a forest in the like, just to look at it. Do you not love to
yeah,
look at the
I don't have
ocean?
yeah, like oceans, and no, I'm good. The sand, no. If there's like a nice resort with like a forest and like the rainforest, I would love rainforest. But then my husband doesn't love snakes, so he's like, we can never go to a rainforest. Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
I'm heading to the rainforest very soon,
No,
actually, in
that is
2
so
days.
exciting.
And
That's
one of
so
the
great.
excursions is actually like, there's like snakes. So maybe I should send maybe I should send Talon a picture.
I love that.
So on that note, Sarah, if money was not a factor, where would you think is the first place you would be running to? You can go on a trip tomorrow. Where would it be?
I've always wanted to go to Hawaii, even though that's very like
Yes.
beachy.
Yeah, what?
That's so funny.
I gotta stick you in the mountain then. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
putting you near the beach. You're going to the mountains of
Oh, that's
Hawaii.
so funny. Yeah. And it just seems cool, right? Just like the environment and the community and
Yes,
just like the
yes.
history. It just seems
The
like the
energy is
vibe just seems homey
yeah.
and welcoming.
Yes, so positive, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
think
just
so.
warm, happy.
Have you been
Alright.
there?
I haven't yet. I haven't yet.
Soon.
That is definitely on my list
Um,
of places to take people because, yeah, that Hawaii has definitely been calling me. Peru called me first, though, so that's why I'm going there in
it's
2
gonna be
days.
so good. Yeah. You'll love it.
I know. I know. Alright. So, let's get into the good stuff for all our listeners. Sarah, what do you have for them?
So my special offering that so the fire horse here is really encouraging us to be brave enough to kind of take what we're working on and move forward with, which is really exciting. So whether it's rearranging your living room, clearing out old clutter, booking that trip that you've been dreaming about, I'd say lean
Yes,
into it
ma'am.
because energy moves fastest when there's intention behind it. So we really want to be intentional with our lives. We want to make it important. We only get one, right? We don't know how long we're here for. So let's make it good. So we want to be
Mhm.
mindful of our spaces and our journeys and the choices we make. We want to start to feel that shift, which we should kind of all be feeling something right about now. If you're in tune, which if you're here, you probably are,
That's right.
which is super awesome. So, if your listeners are curious to explore it a little bit deeper, I'm offering a special opportunity just for them, which is a personal feng shui report, which you have had this previously before. So, you know it's
I
pretty cool.
have.
The reports are
Yeah.
just like a good way to like dip your toes into feng shui. They help you discover your Chinese zodiac animal, your personal element, and your Gua number, which is
Mhm.
especially helpful because it reveals your most supportive direction for things like sleeping and working and focusing your energy and where not to sit when you're working and sleeping as well. It's a really simple but powerful way to start understanding how energy can support you personally. So if anyone is interested, they can find me through my website is www.guidedinteriors.ca or social
Mhm.
media, Guided Interiors, and just mentioned that they heard about this offer on Carol Zuki's podcast. And the offer is $10, which normally starts at $25. And the offer will be
Yes.
available until June 1st, 2026. And that's for anybody who lives in your household. That they'll get
Mm.
this information. And it kind of just helps as like, it's just fun information, but it's a good starter to get into feng shui.
It really is a good starter. Whether you followed the Chinese zodiac or any of that stuff, whether you've done or have, even if you've never heard of Feng Shui before, you will find this insightful. I know I did. When you sent me that, Sarah, and then I looked at all my stuff and, like, for example, just the way that my desk faces.
Hmm.
Um, and because there is a little caveat that I'm just going to ask you in a second, but when I turned my desk the way that you said, because I was feeling so stuck, and then I just made that little shift, I was like, it's as simple as just turning my desk in another direction, the direction that I am most powerful in and most productive. So, what I was going to say was, there is this thing that you mentioned that if you just cannot, like if the space will not allow, then it's okay because, explain that super quick.
If the space doesn't allow, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like, you remember you were saying, like, because I remember I just couldn't, I forget what exactly it was, but you were saying it's about the intention, though. Like, if you literally cannot, like, for example, the where your stairs is or something, right? Like,
Okay, yeah.
you can't
So
reconstruct your whole house just
right.
because your staircase is facing the wrong way.
So because there's so many layers in feng shui, we look at a couple different things. So you're kind of talking about the Bagua map and the life areas. And then when we suggest to make some changes, if you just can't, as long as you're doing some other things, so being as I feel like movement and decluttering is the most important because you need to have that fresh movement. As long as you're doing that, and then another layer of feng shui. I'm trying not to add all these layers. We can set like some feng shui tools in place to help the life areas. So they help, which is kind of nice because you're setting intention for this object or card to either remedy the negative stars, which are just balls of energy, also in the life area, which is another layer. God,
This is why you guys gotta buy, it's
so
$10, like,
many layers.
invest in this Bagua Map with Sarah
So
so she
funny.
can help you out with the layers. Go ahead.
So there's these tools basically you can use to help enhance the energy in your home or help remedy the negative energies. That's all I'm gonna say on that because it's such a
There you
big
go.
can of worms.
Yeah.
Um,
They just gotta spend the $10.
yeah, as a good start, right? And then so if you're setting an intention to kind of rid your space of like any negative unserving energies and just asking for positive good health and good energy to be in your space, that's really powerful as opposed to like obviously you can't move your stairs and stairs is a really big one, like you mentioned, because if they're at the front of your stairs, then that basically means that energy is coming in and energy is coming out. So how do we fix that? We can add mirrors going along the wall of the stairs to kind of flow energy. And then in the hallway, we can add mirrors. Mirrors are a really good tool in feng shui as well because they help move energy. So there's things we can do and consider without having to buy a new house or have a full renovation, basically, in a
There
nutshell.
we go. And Sarah, if I remember correctly, you can even do or offer, like a house assessment, right? They
Yeah, for
can
sure.
hire you to do an assessment of the feng shui in their house to make that just process of figuring the spaces out way easier. Just have you come visit, right?
Yep. So I
At my local
offer
listing.
basically 2 offerings for feng shui. So the personal part is kind of separate. It can be its own thing. But then typically a lot of people, a feng shui consultant will come in and for the consult, if it's an in-house one, then I even will do like a house cleansing. So I walk around and then with a Tibetan bell, will ring the bell and kind of break up the stagnant energy throughout the whole house. And then I will either burn sage or the holy wood and then the incense that's recommended for the year, which for 2026 is frankincense and myrrh. If you could burn
Mm.
that every month just to help cleanse the energy, that would be beneficial as well. Which you
That's like the
get
story of Jesus.
yeah, which you'll get if you if you proceed with a consultation, then I kind of give you like a little package of goodies and the frankincense and myrrhs in there, the incense to burn. And then from there, we kind of look at your house. Then we look at the Bagua map, where the life areas are, where the flying stars are, and then where your best directions are for sleeping. We kind of talk about all of this and go over it. And then we set some remedies in place of being like, maybe change this artwork, add some new artwork, change color. Maybe we need to add some plants. Maybe we need to change some other things up. So that's what a consult entails for in person. And then virtual would just be the same thing, but virtually, like we are today, but without the home cleansing. So you would just have to
But
do
the
that
home
yourself.
cleansing sounds like such a special part of it. That
No,
sounds
it
so
is.
nice
I
to have you
actually
come in
love
and do
it.
that.
I feel like I'm
Yeah.
helping my home and it just feels good. And maybe it's because it's a little
Yeah.
woo woo and I'm like, yeah, this is so cool.
This is my jam.
Yeah,
I love it. It's my jam
I
too,
think
and
so.
probably the jam of all our listeners. So, Sarah, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to leave your information in the show notes for everybody, especially so they can take advantage of that super low $10 offer to kind of like get some more guidance into how they can continue that forward motion of this fire horse year 2026.
That sounds awesome. Thank you. This was fun.
Yes, thanks for coming, Sarah.
Bye, everyone.